Hello,
Hi.
hello, CJ. How are you doing?
Great. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks very much for speaking to me.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, I'm a minute late here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly. Yeah, can you hear me okay? Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So thanks very much for speaking to me. Thanks very much for a fantastic read. It's brilliant. So good.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me. Look at your shelf. That's awesome.
I got to put that out there. Of course I have.
Yeah, yeah.
I know you're a big
Thank
Chuck
you.
Tingle fan as well, so I had to get Chuck Tingle in the background as
I
well
love
somewhere.
it. I know
Yeah.
you have it like that all the time, every day.
I'd like to say yes, but it depends who I'm speaking to. Listen, thanks so much. Like I said, a fantastic read. It was very different to what you've done before. I mean, the previous ones are kind of like one was more kind of apocalyptic, another one was a kind of American Psycho, kind of turned on its head a little bit. Was this one written after that? And if so, what kind of made you decide to kind of skew into that direction? More kind
Yeah.
of crime,
So
thriller, horror.
I have wanted the whole time to kind of create the beginning of a body of work that would allow me to write anything within the horror genre long term. Like, I love that horror is such a big umbrella for so many subcategories. And I've always been really interested in exploring all of them. So I hadn't done like a detective kind of crimey novel, but also this one's ghosts and haunted house. And it was a lot of fun, and I really wanted to create a scenario in which like any reader can come to my books and pick a favorite, because there's
Hmm.
like hopefully something for everyone. So it's uh it's yeah, it's just the beginning, hopefully.
Uh-huh. No, I'm really glad that you brought the kind of mix because I'm not a, there's very few kind of supernatural paranormal books or movies that I really enjoy that much because they're not, if they don't scratch that kind of grounded itch that I like in my
Yeah.
kind of supernatural stories, I don't really kind of buy into them. So I really appreciated that you set it with this crime procedural kind of thriller going on at the same
I'm
time.
glad it worked for you. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
But I'm guessing that was kind of your intention, though, was to set that kind of that procedural part of the story to make sure that the kind of the more ghost supernatural stuff kind of hit harder and made more sense and
Yeah.
could make even the more skeptic of us, the more skeptical of your readers more enjoy the story more and appreciate it more and kind of buy into the supernatural side of
You know,
things. No.
It's so funny. I wish I could say that I like thought that strategically, and that would be so smart of me to think that way. But honestly, it's more like sometimes these stories just sort of like appear, and you're sort of like, I don't like with this one. I kind of just saw these characters, and I had this idea of these people waking up on the side of the highway, like with no idea how they got there, wearing the skin of people they've never met, and
Yeah.
sort of like that's very horrifying to me. And it was a lot with this book asking the question of like, one, who are these people and what is this story that are sort of like appearing to me in pieces? And two, like, oh, how do I write a supernatural detective novel? I've never done that before.
Yeah.
So it it's not so planned all the time for me. I knew I wanted to explore a male main character. I actually tried to do this book as a dual POV at first,
Right.
with two different characters, but it didn't work. It was really like Daniel's story, so to me. So
Can I ask you
it
why you felt it didn't work?
Because the other main character who would have had the POV in there, I couldn't find anything to justify bringing in that POV before like 100 pages into the book. And
Right.
that felt lopsided to me and a little bit, it felt like trying to force something. And so, and I was really only doing it because, I'm trying not to be spoilery, but because folks were like, well, you write female characters, you write the female, the like, very, and obviously I'm a feminist. All my books are going to be,
Yeah.
feminist books because I'm a feminist. But this was Daniel's story, and I don't feel like that was a bad thing. I enjoyed it. I had a good
Oh no, yeah,
time.
no, it worked perfectly. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned
Yeah.
there that kind of one of the ideas that came to you all of a sudden was this idea of these people waking up wearing this kind of human cape of someone that they didn't
Yeah.
know, which is a very typical normal thing that it just kind of pops into your head all of a sudden. But I mean, I'm quite curious. I'm quite. I mean, it worked really well. But I mean, you said that just that idea itself is horrifying. But what I love about this book is the fact that you don't kind of really describe it, over explain it, and you kind of leave it up to the reader to kind of paint the gore much more visually than as it is in the book, which I prefer because typically, not always, sometimes there's some really great extreme horror that explains it and it really, really works really well. But I just really, really appreciate this. It felt kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, where you think it's a really bloodthirsty movie, but when you watch it a second time, you realize that it's not that. So it's all kind of created in your head, thanks to the director or thanks to the writer. So I'm quite curious if that was something that was you were kind of very, very kind of aware of, that you didn't want to overdo it with the gore and leave it up to the kind of leave gaps for the readers to fill in with their own gory
Yeah, I
imagination.
think, with Mayfly, it was like it made sense to talk about. And even then, I think I left some things to the imagination, but it made sense to be more extreme and to actually talk about physically what was happening.
Yeah.
This one, the horror is the traumas of life. I mean, the main horror to me, and is sort of like these painful things we live through, and really is like losing the people we love. And so this other stuff, it didn't make sense to me with this book to like delve into it too much. I think just existing there was kind of enough. And then there, the real kind of meat of the story, sorry to use that term, was Daniel's history, and sort of asking this question of like, how do I go on when I keep losing everybody and everything I love in this life, you know?
Uh-huh. Talking of Danielle, it just occurred to me, like, you made me feel so damned old. I've just turned 50, and this guy is
Happy
what,
birthday.
30, not a few months ago. But the reason that I say so is because this guy, he feels like this grizzled veteran guy, but he's only what, 34, I think he is.
34.
So
No,
every
I
time
like
he brings up
that
his
though.
age, I'm like, bloody hell, he's 16 years younger than me. And he just,
Well, again,
and everyone
yeah.
else kind of writes him off as like he should kind of give up. He's past his sell by date. And I'm like, well, that was me 16 years ago.
Only for soldiering. And
Children.
now they're they're changing those ages, I guess. But
No,
yeah,
but no, I'm joking. But I mean,
yeah.
I'm guessing that the reason that you wanted him to be kind of this grizzled veteran who's seen so many things in his life was because this book really does kind of explore how depraved humans are, and what people are capable of doing without, like the typical question that people will say, would you ever kill someone? And obviously the answer would be no. But certain circumstances can make people do things that you wouldn't imagine
Yeah.
they would do. And this is very much what this book is about, right? And I imagine that's why Daniel is so kind of grizzled, even though he's a lot younger than me.
Yeah, well, I think, some people get really unlucky and really kind of face a lot of horrific things and loss early in life. And he's a character who did. And then additionally, people who go to war, it changes them. And I am very fascinated by this idea societally that we sort of expect veterans to reintegrate into society. And I don't know how I mean, of course they will, but it's like, I think we don't have enough resources. And to ask anybody who's lived through such a concentrated singular experience like they do, to then just sort of go back to everyday life as though nothing has changed is an unrealistic expectation. And so I'm
Mhm.
very interested in like veteran experience and, the ways in which like 1 year away can change everything and probably age you 10 years in your
Yeah,
mind. So yeah, he's a character who kind of like his life is front loaded with a lot of really difficult, awful things. And then, you
100%.
know, then he gets the journey and hopefully it gets a little better. Hopefully.
And then I know that you're an avid I'm completely changing the subject here, but I know that you're a
Yeah.
very avid hiker. You like going into the mountains and whatnot. And
Yeah.
would it be fair in saying that another of the characters, I obviously don't want to give too much of it, but another of the characters, the park ranger, is very heavily inspired by yourself, even though this is, like you said, Daniel's story mainly, because
Yeah.
it
Well,
kind of felt
so
like someone who liked to kind of be on the fringe and kind of
yeah,
watch and observe.
totally. This book is like really my love letter to nature, to wild spaces, to
Hmm.
our earth, which I think we're not taking care of the way that we should be. And
Yeah, that
I
comes across in the book a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for Daniel, what that looks like is like he has this kind of yearning for like some other kind of life and this sort of like freedom, but like he can't quite find his way to it. And then I have this other character who has a very free and wild life, and that's how that character deals with some of the traumas from the past, and also just an appreciation for the beauty of earth and nature and the animals that we share this earth with. And so, yeah, a lot of this book is about wild spaces versus sort of man created spaces and what our relationship to both of those looks like, especially in America right now. And Denver is a city that has kind of constant, continuous sprawl developing. Like it just kind of keeps getting wider and wider, like a lot of cities. And I'm very interested in that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and kind of what that means.
Yeah, no, that brings me to my next question. I was actually going to ask you about the setting itself because I mean, I know that I think you were brought up in, was it Texas and New York, and then you moved to California, but
Yep.
you actually,
Yep.
you set the book in Colorado. Was it specifically because of kind of I don't know because I don't live over there, but was that kind of because of the kind of the mindset and kind of the way people are seen
Uh,
in Colorado kind of played into the story that you wanted to tell?
totally. So like my sort of like project is I want to kind of write America bit by bit as I go
Right.
along because I mean I live on the road these days and I see so much that I think is there's a lot there's a lot that's not good, but there's so much that is, and I think that I want to explore all of that and kind of just try and paint a portrait of this life. But I grew up with I have a lot of Colorado family and I spend a lot of
Right.
time there growing up, and it I always felt kind of a bit of a tense relationship with Colorado in that I couldn't ever quite understand it as a place and kind of the culture of it, which was interesting, spending a lot of time there. So I think a lot of this book was me kind of trying to understand it, which is exactly what I did with Maeve and Los Angeles too, and also trying to say what I think is really amazing about it, and this sort of history of Colorado, both in horror literature, but also like actual like history. There's so much cannibal history. There's so much ghost history. There's like the mining towns. I mean, it's like a fascinating place. Denver was a con man city for a long time. Obviously, On the Road takes place in Denver, a lot of it. So, like, I've just always loved the sort of like book history of this space too, and The Shining with Colorado.
Yeah,
So,
no,
there's
yeah,
all
there's a
this.
lot of yeah. Mention the Shining there. Obviously, there's a very big hat tip to the Shining and also to Hannibal Lecter as well.
Yeah.
How do you go about paying homage to those kind of books? Especially, I mean, even in the epigraph, you mentioned those two books. How do you go about paying homage to those books, making sure that it doesn't slip too much into kind of copying it, and it's just homage, if you will?
Yeah, I mean, I guess readers can tell me if they think I succeeded at that, but
No, no, you
it's
completely did, but I just wondered how
oh,
you would
thank you.
approach it. Yeah, sure.
I think that to me, there's just so much existing literature. Like, there's no way to sort of do anything entirely new. And so I find great joy in really like explicitly interacting with books that came before whatever I'm doing and saying, like, hey, I want this to be in celebration of and in the
Yep.
sort of lineage lineage of these stories, but also like I do make it my own. But I had so much fun. It was funny with The Shining early on. Some readers were like, it's too much. Let's get rid of it. Let's like lean away. It's cool that you were inspired, but like it's too much." And I just thought, you know what? I think I'm gonna double down on it. I think I'm gonna really like, I won't say what it is, but there's a big scene that very much interacts with The Shining and the hotel and all of these things. And
Yeah.
that scene felt like such a set piece to me of like the story I wanted to tell. And so it was really fun. I think it's such a special book, and I think everybody needs to read The Shining multiple times in their lives. I think it's totally singular.
Uh-huh. No, man, I love it. I mean, I remember, I think it was Nat Cassidy. I was speaking to him, and just before he released When the Wolf Comes Home, he actually
Yeah.
posted a video on Instagram of all the different books that inspired him. I just think that's great. There's no reason
Awesome.
to kind of hide the fact that you were inspired by stuff that you love.
Yeah, I mean, so many of us are readers first, you know? Like I'm very much a reader. I guess not every I have some writer friends who don't really read, but yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a reader. I'm a fan.
Hmm. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Talking of kind of inspiration, I know that you made playlists for all of your books. So I'm quite curious how much of music. I mean, there's various mentions of music in this book itself, but how much does music influence your writing and the writing style? Do you create the playlist before you write down? You sit down to write, hoping that it'll kind of bleed into what you're writing, or do you write something and then listen to something to maybe help steer you in the right direction, or do you try and leave music until later on so that it doesn't distract you?
Yeah. Usually my process is like I have an idea and then I start to get kind of like aesthetics in mind. So usually I'll do like a Pinterest board and like get some visuals and I'll make a playlist. But then the playlist can change throughout the course of the book. And when I'm writing, it'll be significantly longer and more sort of all over the place than in the end when I sort of release it to readers because certain songs might help me write a scene, but I don't actually feel that they make sense with the completed book. So, um, it's a great joy. My parents were musicians when I was growing
All
up,
right.
and music has just always been music history, music facts. Like that's always been such a massive part of my everyday life. And yeah, I'm very inspired by songs, and I'll put one song on repeat for like 4 hours of writing sometimes, you know, like a crazy person.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about as well. I mean, you mentioned that there's kind of a specific kind of homage to the hotel and the Shining, those kind of things. I'm very curious about one place that I don't think it's a spoiler to say where Daniel grew up in this place called
Yeah.
While Ago Manor. I'm very curious if that was inspired by any place specifically, and also if not, how do you kind of create this space in your head? Are you very much a kind of you like to put a kind of a kind of a map or some kind of structure to help you to set
Yeah.
that out, or is that something that you just kind of have in your head? Because certain writers they say they don't make any notes or anything, no blueprints or anything. They just kind of come up with this house or this structure, and they don't need to work with any maps. How do you set all of that out when it comes to structures in your stories
Yeah,
and
that's a
sections?
really good question. I love buildings. Uh I love buildings. I'm so fascinated by these interior worlds that we create as humans, whether it's like a dive bar or I'm very into dive bars, roadside attractions and things because there's such like explicit sort of like it's tiny worlds that we
Yeah,
make. But even homes are like that, you know,
yeah,
and stores are like that and churches and schools and whatever. And so libraries, I'm very interested in that and sort of like the all of the things that lead to an ambiance or a feeling. But I saw the happy inn when I was writing this book. I saw this motel from the book. That made sense to me early. But there was like a piece that felt like it was missing from the book and I couldn't quite figure it out. And just the the reality is for me, my tie to Denver, I spent time in larger homes that were sort of felt like a bit monolithic to me when I would visit. Those were the kind of spaces that I
Right.
would inhabit temporarily, and so of other people's homes. And that was kind of my relationship to Denver. And so it felt strange, like writing a book about Denver and not kind of including that. And when
Yeah.
I tried to introduce that piece and, a part of town that I knew a little bit better and everything, it just like suddenly clicked. And this whole idea of like the adoptive parents that were really kind of created this like beautiful environment, but it also was haunted and everything's a little bit haunted. And it's frightening as a child inhabiting a large space that's unfamiliar at the same time as it's quite nice and beautiful
Yeah.
and can be very warm with a big fireplace or whatever. So it was like all of those things. There's a book. This book took me like 5 years to write. So there were so
Really?
many, yeah, there were so many iterations of like, is this working? Do I like this? Maybe I don't. And sort of like th this entire book felt like stumbling around in the dark and just kind of following the lights as they appeared. And that is perfect for what it is. I think it's what it needed to be
Hmm.
because that's what the world feels like to my main characters. And
Yeah.
navigating grief feels like to me is just like you're always like, where do I go and what do I do? And I don't
Yeah.
even know what's around me all the time. So yeah, every book is such a different experience. It's
Uh-huh.
fascinating how that happens.
Yeah. I mean, talking instead of kind of the structures of the buildings, the structure of Daniel's head was
Yeah,
so well written. I loved it
thank
so much
you.
because a lot of people they like to talk about the past and the present in separate chapters or whatever, whereas the it really maybe I'm just my brain works the same way as Daniel. I don't know, but it was really at first I thought it was going to be overwhelming because you talk about where he is right now, but at the same
Yeah,
time these kind of thoughts and ruminations suddenly jump in from the past or whatever. And I thought it was going to overwhelm me, but it worked so well because it really kind of got me into Daniel's mindset so well.
I'm
Was that
so
all?
glad.
Was that always your intention, or did you have them kind of like separate chapters first of all to kind of to separate the past and the present?
No, I thought, you know, I think at the time of writing this book, I was really struggling with grief and also just I was learning a lot about that now I guess predominantly folks are calling it PTS, not PTSD, to kind
Yeah,
of like destigmatize it. And um, I find it fascinating, and I find it fascinating the ways in which we can get stuck, like in feeling in moments like that. These sort of very traumatic things can happen, and our brains will let us and not let us move on from them,
yeah,
and things pushing in when you don't want them to, and it's very sudden sometimes, and it can be overwhelming. And this question for him of like, do I have some special ability and I'm seeing, like
yeah,
crazy things? Or is this like, kind of a hallucinatory manifestation of this trauma that I live with? And either way, what do I do with it?
yeah,
I just found I love him. I like I feel for him. He's like of all this sort of like, if I can call my characters like my children, is like he's like the sweet, sensitive one, Like I just want to uh protect him from more pain. But yeah, I think that was kind of that.
hmm.
Brains are crazy.
They are a little bit, yeah. But no, I mean, you said there that you wanted to protect him, so I imagine wanting to protect this character from the word go must have really informed the way that the story kind of organically went because of that.
Yes. I tend to know my endings early on. This
Yeah,
book,
you usually kind of not reverse engineer, but you kind of know where you want to
yeah,
go from the beginning.
yeah.
Yeah.
This book, part of the ending never changed, and part of it really did. And that was there. It's kind of hard. I can't. I don't know how to talk about it
Without
in a
spoiling it, no?
non-spoilery
Yeah.
way. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But it was there's always you're always getting at something that you may or may not know that you're getting at, and then eventually it can be made aware to you. And I have a particularly amazing editor. I think Kelly at Nightfire is just like, I love working with her for many reasons, but she's so good at looking at the book and saying, you know what? Like literally with this book, she was like, this character and this character, I want way more of them. Let's pull them forward. And this
Sure.
one I don't care about, and that's like an amazing thing. And then I kind of roll with that. And then suddenly it unlocks so much potential for the narrative. And luckily our vision is just like very aligned. So it's just cool how it can change.
Are you able to share? Obviously, I don't want to say, don't want to ask you which characters they wanted to see less of, but can you tell me which characters they wanted to see
Yeah.
more of? Because I'm really
But I
curious about
won't
that.
say one, just for spoiler reasons, but
Okay.
the other one was Nat Tillman.
Right.
Nat Tillman was had a smaller role early on, and then he was kind of a reader favorite as I was drafting, and so he got more of a role, and I'm glad
Are
he
you able
did.
to, are you able to share kind of what the reasons that your editor gave you as to why? Because I love these stories. It's like in
Yeah.
TV shows and things like that. Certain characters were only supposed to be in like one or two episodes, and then they end up kind of being a regular. So I'm quite curious
Yeah.
what it was
Well,
that they saw in that character that they felt made them worthy of having
it's a
more
good
page
question.
time.
I think he's a character who's like very authentically himself and is kind of unapologetic about who he is versus like Daniel struggles so much. He like agonizes so much this and
Yeah.
putting him in a shared space with somebody who really does not agonize about who he is and is very feels very free to be himself, but also pushes Daniel's buttons and is funny and is it's like all of these things. And I won't. This doesn't spoil, but if you want to know who the other character was, it's somebody who comes back in at the end kind of prominently. Um, had a lesser role before, and now it's bigger. So it's it's been a very cool journey. There's more humor in this book now than there was early on, and I'm
Hmm.
glad for it because I like there to be a lot of tonal variation in a book. And this one's a pretty heavy book, so like
Yeah.
it felt nice to have some of that.
And I think, yeah, kind of between police and soldiers. I can't remember. I was doing an interview. I think I was doing an interview with I think it was a director of a film about it was about vets, war vets, and they said that they actually the banter between them is a lot more very pitch black humor than you would expect. That's why I think that it was really important that you did add as much humor as you did in this book because I think it really is how those kind of people communicate with each other.
Thank you. Well, I mean, it's like anybody who's been in like dark situations. I mean, that's kind of how I deal with things too. It's just like,
Sure.
I'm always making a joke in the worst case scenario because
Yeah.
what else are you gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
there's only so much we can ever do about anything. And so I think, yeah, finding humor. I talk about this a lot, but like I kind of think of books as having like a color palette. And like I never want a book to just be like black and gray or even like black and gray and red for like horror. This is kind of what I see. I want the book it could be primarily those things, but then I want it to have like loud splashes of other things, of totally unexpected things, of humor, of romance, of like I want readers to feel everything. I want them to cry
Sure.
and
All
want
the
to throw
feels.
up and be turned on and be like confused and laugh um and be angry, like all of those
Yeah.
things. And find some hope, hopefully, maybe. Maybe. I don't
Uh-huh.
know. Sometimes.
Yeah, no, yeah, but I mean, I think that's probably why I read horror more than anything else. I mean, I've suffered with anxiety a lot, and it's kind of like my safe place, just reading horror and watching horror movies. To be honest, yeah,
I mean, that makes sense. And it's a safe arena to deal with these fears that we live with. And fear and death are such a huge part of life. Like that's really so much of what this like humanity business is. And I love writing in a genre that allows us to really unflinchingly look at it and turn it over and over and say, well, what do we do with this? What do we
Yeah.
do with death and fear and anxieties, and how do we find something in this shared human experience of having them? And I
Uh,
love that.
yeah, and I love that. I also apart from kind of, I mean, I think that's why Daniel resonated with me so much was because he's such a ruminator, and I'm such a ruminator myself as well. And I've said that with so many different characters from different books as well. And the same with books like and Chuck Tingle's books as well. That you just learn, like he says, love is real. And you can find so much empathy, so much more empathy in horror books than you can in kind of like comedies or romances or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think also, a lot of us horror writers are anxious folks, like I
Yeah.
think writing a horror novel is saying what's the worst possible thing that can happen to my characters all the time repeatedly. And that's kind of what you do.
Mm.
And I think there's something really beautiful in getting to like see this shared kind of anxiety space in between the reader and the writer.
Which is why I guess you kind of wanted to look after and protect Daniel in this one specifically. No?
Yeah, I think my first two books were really kind of looking at like problems, things that I viewed as problems, things that I want to change or feel that I can't, but I wish I could. And there was so much anger in both of those books. And with this book, it's grief. It's like this question. I think I was in a raw place in my life when I started writing it, and it's not a statement, it's a question. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, what is death? And where do our loved ones go? And can we reach them after they go? And or do they even want us to? Like um all of those things were kind of in my mind. And so this book in a way is like a gentler book, even though it's like really dark, because
Mm.
it's I'm not raging against anything. I'm just saying this is hard. How do we deal with it, you know?
Yeah. Uh-huh. I mean, there was kind of coupled to that. There's kind of an underlying commentary about kind of human exceptionalism against kind of the balance of nature, especially talk kind of about apex predators and ecological consequences. There, I did kind of sense a little bit of anger in there. Would I be wrong in saying that?
No, you're not wrong. No, I mean about
No.
look, I'm always a little angry about something. But anger is good. Anger is healthy.
No, no, yeah, no, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. No, but I just spotted like
No,
there was
no,
something
no,
that you
no,
wanted to get off your chest there.
no, of course. I think we, especially recently, we are not showing much regard for the ecosystems around us. And I think what I can't quite understand and what I wish people could see is like we are very much a part of these ecosystems and they very much affect us in return. And so
Yeah.
even if you come from just this very human-centered perspective of like human life somehow matters more than all other life, we're still doing ourselves a disservice by not taking care of our environments and understanding that ecosystems need to maintain balance in order to function well. But I also am an animal lover, and I grew up in pretty conservative parts with conservative family and hunters, fisher people, lots of. Uh, I partly grew up on a cattle ranch, like all of this stuff, but I've been a vegetarian on and off my whole life because
All
I
right.
have just had a hard time with this thing. And I love animals and I rescue animals. And
Yeah, I think
so I
you
think,
have quite a few rescue dogs. No, I think I read something about that. No.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we lost one this year, so we're down to
Oh,
three.
sorry
But
about that.
oh, thank you. They're the best.
Mm.
Dogs are the best. We don't deserve dogs.
Yeah.
They're the best. So yeah, I love animals. I love nature. I wish we took care of it better, and we currently don't, and I'm afraid for what that means. And in Colorado, the wolf reintroduction politics have been a very major conversation and issue. So
That's very much a thing. I wasn't sure if that was just something that you kind of created for the
no,
story.
it's
That's very much
real.
a thing, is it? Yeah.
Very much a thing. Yeah. So it's been like a crazy controversial thing in the West that I don't know when all this started. In the at least it's been huge in the last 10 years. It probably started before that, but sort of like reintroducing keystone species that have been eradicated from different environments and seeing if we can find a better balance. And there's a lot of pushback against that. And it becomes this environmentalist versus ranchers conversation as if you could only be one or the other, and it's fascinating, but that's very much it's very much in the fabric of our world here right now.
Hmm.
So
Yeah. Uh-huh. I also want to talk a little bit about the kind of the cycle. I mean, this is kind of the first time that you've gone into kind of a this police procedural thriller thing. I'm quite curious. There's very much, but a lot of the characters have got kind of psychology backgrounds. There's a lot of kind of the psychology, the profiling of the criminals and these kind of things, and even the character who lives in the park ranger. She's. You also say that she had a psychology background as well. I'm quite curious why it was important that all of these people had very psychological backgrounds, and how did you research that to tell it without it being getting too into the nitty gritty of kind of procedural things, so that it was an easy read for people who aren't kind of into extremely the nitty gritty of kind of
yeah.
criminology and those kind of things.
Well, with that character, I was well, so this the two epigraphs in the book are The Shining and Silence of the Lambs. And I, not necessarily with that character, but just in the book in general, I was very inspired by both. I interacted with both a lot, and I love Hannibal. I don't know. I love Hannibal Lecter, and I love that he knew so much about people.
Yeah.
And at the outset of this book, we have this question of like somebody's like skinning people, whether it's the people who are waking up or somebody else doing it. And there is this cannibalism aspect. And so this question of like, why would people ever eat people? Which is to me feels like why would we destroy the planet? Why would we, and these sort of like unhealthy, almost diseased behaviors to me that come from I don't like big emotional turmoil or even disregard for others. Like I find it all fascinating. So but yeah, there was a lot of that and Clarice in Silence of the Lambs also obviously had the job that she had. And so I very much wanted to like bring that in and this question of like what is humanity? What are our brains doing? Who are we? And what is our relationship to each other and this world around us? And why do we keep destroying things and sometimes like consuming all the time, like taking things into ourselves? And does it have to do with this sort of grief business and mortality business and this feeling like we have a hole inside us that we can't quite fill? So all of those things were part of it.
Huh? You mentioned Hannibal. The book. This would be fans of the series, the Hannibal series, will have a field day with this book because it has a lot of very similar kind of concepts and ideas in there. Yeah.
I hope that. I mean, that was like totally it for me. And I listened to the score a lot from the original Silence of the Lambs, but I love all of that entire world and Thomas Harris. Like I just think it's remarkable.
Uh-huh. And
It's so good. It's so scary.
maybe it was just me, but are you very much into video gaming at all?
I have played some, but not
Uh-huh.
enough. I used to play Skyrim and Witcher a lot. I
All
like the
right.
fan.
No, it's just because some of the kind of the procedural aspects of investigating the scenes of the crimes and things like that reminded me of a few video
Oh,
games.
cool.
I just wasn't sure if that was something that was just because of maybe you
Oh,
played
that's
certain video
awesome.
games.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, brilliant. I mean, so I mean, the book's also been compared to kind of True Detective, Hannibal. Were there any touchstones that you discovered while researching it that you didn't expect would be an inspiration, or maybe books that people maybe haven't heard of?
Um, I think there's one book that has probably inspired everything I've ever written, which is Library at Mount Char. And I talk about it a lot because this book, I picked it up in 2015, and that was when I was kind of in my mind thinking, oh, I might want to become a writer. And
Mhm.
I did not view it as a horror novel at the time. I thought it was like a fantasy novel. It's kind of both. But I think that as I'm saying it, it probably very much influenced this. And everything because it kind of taught me that you can have a grounded story and also have it be anything you want it to be. Like you write the world, you write the rules as the creator of something. And so very much that. I watched Long Legs at one point in the
Long
last couple of
Legs.
years.
Right. Yes. No.
Long
Yeah. I
Legs
think
was
it's
a good
mentioned
one.
on. Yeah. That's mentioned.
Yeah. X-Files, I'm just getting into X-Files for the first time. I love it. It's so
Right.
good. But yeah,
Yeah.
all of these.
I think they're remaking. They're not remaking X-Files now with new characters. I think. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm in. I'm in for everything. I love,
Yeah.
there aren't that many stories I don't like, you know?
Yeah. No.
Like, how can you not love story?
But I mean, you said it took you 5 years to prepare this book. So I mean, you must have gone
Yeah.
down some really dark rabbit holes.
Yeah.
You do mention kind of like chat rooms and things like that. Did you
Yep.
kind of go full method like an actor and dive down those and kind of search chat rooms and those kind of things, or did you not go quite so?
Um, my relationship with the internet has been interesting in the last few years. When I put Maeve out, it, you know, 99% of readers were just amazing and cool, and I've like gotten to meet people who are awesome, and um that book like activated something in just a few people. Um and I got some pretty extreme responses and like threats and things, like
Really?
weird stuff. Yeah, weird stuff. And so I think my relationship to the internet and privacy and we have this social media world in which like writers really promote their own
Yeah, I was going to
books.
say because
Also,
you have to have that
yeah,
relationship with the internet, be able to because that's
yeah.
your
Yeah, and you're
main
also,
promotion
and it's
tool.
like we're storytellers. Like I love talking about my life. I love sharing, a lot of aspects of my life,
Yeah,
especially with like cool, like-minded folks, and having it be a part of the narrative of the books I'm writing too, because it is, and they come out of my life. And but it was interesting because there were a couple years where like I was losing people and I was feeling less safe in the world. And safety and internet, like those two things together felt like a
go
very
together.
charged thing to
Yeah,
me. So I wasn't on chat rooms, but I think that that feeling was there of just like you can get somewhere you don't want to be with this device in your hand. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Or somewhere maybe you do want to be, but maybe shouldn't be, or I don't know. Like it's a beautiful place and it's a dark place like anything else. So I think that was all probably a part of it, but I'm still trying not to spoil, but there are things that I felt like were also part of like Colorado history that were kind of um, on my mind in the creation of all this. Yeah, I don't know.
uh-huh.
It's a very like easy book to spoil. There are so many
Yeah,
things
no,
that
yeah, yeah,
happen
yeah.
where I'm like, oh God, I can't say that. Um, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's all finding light in dark spaces with this one.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I'm really disappointed to hear that you get threats and things like that. I mean, obviously, one thing is for people to say they don't like your books or whatever, but I imagine was it threats because of the type of literature that you put out,
I think that
or would you
yeah,
prefer not to?
yeah. I think no, no,
If you
no, it's
prefer
fine.
not to speak about something, tell me.
No,
Yeah.
no, it's totally fine. It feels good to talk about some of this stuff because I just didn't for a few years. But no, it's calmed down. I think we're in a good spot, and it also is like it's just a crazy thing going from being somebody who has no public facing self and then you suddenly do, even though it's a relatively small arena. It's nothing like what actors deal with or anything. I can't
Right.
even imagine. Or even, authors who are just much bigger than I am. But yeah, it's a fascinating thing, kind of adjusting and realizing your world expanded, and that's the dream and that's beautiful. But every now and then a strange thing could sort of creep in, but that's good fodder for books too. And I think so much of navigating this world for me, and same with my characters, is like just sort of making peace with uh, there's stuff here that's scary and hard and that isn't what I want to be interacting with, but overwhelmingly things are so beautiful and like there's so much, like you said, like love is real, the Chuck way, like there's
Yeah.
so much love in this world and there's so much to be said about like connection and having these human relationships and sharing in this experience together because it's really what we have and
Especially in the
appreciate.
horror community itself as well.
I love this community. Yeah, I mean really
So
like
good. Yeah.
people are amazing. They're amazing. So I feel so lucky every day. And yeah, this book, I put a lot of myself into this book. There's a lot of like little tiny things that people would never know were even about my life. Like even you brought up While Ago Banner. The while ago story. So the while ago story in the book is like somebody misheard. We bought this house, we named it a while ago, and the other person was like, the name kind of stuck. That happened like when I was born. An aunt asked my mom, "Have you named her yet?" And she said, "Yeah, I named her a while ago." And my aunt said, "Spell that." And so that's my family calls me while ago. And like, there's just like little things, and there are places that I spent time as a kid, and there are probably parts of homes were really kind of modeled after like family home, my distant family's places. And so there's this book's very personal to me in ways readers probably like won't even know, but it felt really cool to get to do that.
No, well, I mean, I got that. I don't know you at all, obviously, but I only know you from kind of Instagram posts. But there's certain things that just felt like you were really kind of pouring your heart out into the book. Yeah, definitely in certain places. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like a privilege to get to do that, to get to like share yourself with readers. It's
Uh-huh.
a nice
And
thing.
please don't stop sharing things on Instagram because I mean, for example, you mentioned Chuck Tingle there. I remember there was a video you posted where you opened the cupboard and you're like, I've got something to say, and then Chuck Tingle suddenly. I mean, that was I don't even know how many times I watched that. It's like you listen to a song for 4 hours. I think I watched that video for 4 hours.
It
It's
is
so good.
me. It is me. Actually, those are just all three of my books behind you.
Well,
Um,
that's the second time I've interviewed you then.
exactly. He's so remarkable and inspiring to me, and
So
I'm
good.
I'm very lucky to get to call him a friend, and he's just such an amazing writer.
Uh-huh. Talking of which, I mean, I don't, maybe I've made this up completely, but did I read somewhere that I don't know if it's your boyfriend or your husband, has worked together with Chuck, and there's a project coming out sometime soon. Is that right?
Do they? What did they do? Um, but I probably it's so funny if I'm forgetting something. So my boyfriend has constant projects. Like
Right.
he's amazing and he's always doing things. We have an event with the two of us with Chuck and Liz Karen in LA in June, and I'm trying to think maybe they did do something together that I can't
I
think
don't know.
of right
I
now.
just I seem to recall you saying something on Instagram or somewhere where they had was it not a book or something that they worked on together, or am I making that up completely now?
Well, I Chuck blurbed Kyle's book. But I
What was
wonder, I don't know. I'll message you after if I think of anything. I'll ask them both if I'm it's so funny. If I am forgetting something, I'm like the worst on two count. We'll see.
brilliant? Um, So yeah, just to finish off then. I mean, obviously you said there that you're going to be doing some events. How I mean, it's still we've got a couple of months until the book comes out. But how will you be celebrating the release? Will you be doing a tour? I've just seen the video that
I
Chuck
know, isn't that so great?
shared about his tour. What will you be doing?
I've got, but in terms of crazy videos, uh,
No, no, crazy
I've got a big
videos. No, no.
tour.
What places can people catch up with you?
Yeah, yeah. I think I have 12 bookstore stops and then also a handful of festivals. So I'm all over this summer. I'm really
Hmm.
excited. But yeah, like I think like 15 cities. So that's all on my Instagram. People can go look, but I'm really excited. Two of the events are shared with my boyfriend because his book is coming out. So we're doing New York and LA together.
Uh-huh.
And we have like a lot of other really cool writers joining us, and I'm excited. I'm doing Gen Con this year. I'm doing this creepaway camp. There's like all kinds of fun stuff coming up.
Uh-huh.
It's always crazy. It's like, it's a very joyous, cool thing, touring, because you just like kind of get so bombarded with all this beautiful, beautiful love. It's a
Uh-huh.
great thing.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously that you're promoting this now, but at the same time, are you working? I imagine you're working on something else. Do you tend to work on one book at a time, or do you tend to kind of work on various things
Uh,
at the same time? Because
I'm supposed,
I can't
yeah,
even read two books at the same time because I get everything
really.
mixed up.
No, I like hopping around, but I'm on a book a year schedule theoretically, so I need to move a little bit faster than I have been. So what that means is like right now I'm doing my second draft of my fourth book, which is a New
Right.
York book, but I've been working on the first draft of my fifth book. So I'm promoting book three, editing and rewriting book four, and initial drafting book five, kind of all at the same time, and you just sort of like bounce between them, and
Yeah.
um, it's cool.
So me interviewing you about a previous book doesn't help you at all. Just,
No, it's fun. It actually
I'm
really
joking.
helps me because no, it's good because I'm about to go like tour for this book, and it helps me remember like what I wrote.
Uh,
But it also feels like this, victory lap a bit because you do spend so many. I spend years on. I'm not a fast writer. I spend years on books, and you live in these worlds and you put so much of yourself into them, and it's really nice to just like get to talk about it at the end and be like, oh yeah, I did that, and that like now people get to experience it and have it be theirs, and that's so cool.
but is it? I mean, you said that it takes you a long time to write a book. Is it easy for you to write the end and forget about it, or are you kind of you find yourself ruminating a bit like Daniel, kind of maybe I should
Ah,
have. I don't know, but it's just because
yeah,
when
yeah.
I do interviews and I prepare my questions or whatnot, and then 5 minutes after the interview's finished, I think, I forgot to ask something. So is it easy for you to kind of draw the line and say, right, this is the book finished. I can leave it
Kind
there and
of,
I'll be
yeah.
happy.
I think it feels like such a relief when, I mean, it's two things. I'm a perfectionist, so it's never good enough to me. And
Yeah.
I'm editing like you're not supposed to make big changes in copy edits, for example, as an author. And my editor called me after American Rapture and was like, "You made over 600 changes in this document." It's like I'm crazy.
No,
Um,
I'm the same. I know exactly how you feel.
yeah,
I'm
yeah. So
exactly the
you
same.
get it. So there's that aspect, but at the same time, like I always get new ideas. I have a constant flow of new ideas. It's just the execution that takes forever. So like I'm so excited about books five and six. You know what I mean? But it's
Hmm.
like now I gotta finish four and make it really great. And then I gotta finish five before I can even like think about six. And so it's this I'm always relieved when it's done, but it also never feels done or good enough. And you just have to sort of wash your hands of it and say, okay,
Yeah.
it is what it is. And nothing's ever perfect. And hopefully just some reader loves it. And that's kind of the best I can do.
Well, I've loved it, so it's perfect. It's perfect.
Thank you. The
I'm not
only
just
reader
saying that.
who
It really is.
matters. Thank you.
No, one thing I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I can't not talk about AI because
Yeah.
it's such a
Yeah.
thing at the moment. The reason that I bring it up now is because I was just speaking to some. I'm gonna mess her name up now. Bessinger, who wrote Femme Fatale. I don't know if you've read that one. I don't think it's
No.
come out in the US. It comes out in a couple of weeks or so in the US, I think. And she used a couple of paragraphs of AI, but specifically to point out how crap AI is, basically.
Oh, interesting.
And because readers, well, people who hadn't even read it saw that she'd used AI, they just, I
Wow.
imagine, sent messages or whatever. And I don't know if there were
Wow.
threatening messages also, but a lot of readers basically just don't want to know anything about it. Um, so I'm quite curious about your thoughts about AI and kind of
Yeah.
how it
Yeah.
is
I
unfortunately
mean,
killing art, even if it's just used like for two paragraphs, specifically for the opposite reason that readers are think it's for.
yeah, and it sounds like that author is critically
And she,
engaging with something in a way
but she,
that,
and she was very transparent about the whole thing as well
yeah,
before the book came out. Yeah,
I think people are afraid, and I would include myself in that category, because I think we all thought that AI would be used for taking over jobs, ideally that humans maybe don't want to do as much, and not coming
tell me
for the
about it. My day job is a translator from
yeah,
Spanish to English,
yeah.
and oof,
Well, also that it's yeah, a lot of folks in a lot of industries are feeling this fear. And I personally don't use it. I mean, you can't even Google anything anymore without, like, it's like you don't even have a
the AI
choice.
comes up at the top. Yeah,
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, well, now I have to go source check this or whatever, or try to look past it, or I don't know. But I don't use chat. I don't do any of that. But it exists, and I don't know what that means for us.
yeah.
I really hope that art can stay something human or can be explicitly made clear if it's not
Hmm.
human generated. And I hope that that's where we are, but
Uh-huh.
I don't know. None of us know.
Uh-huh.
This is a new frontier, and we're
It's
all
quite funny. I
just like,
mean, the reason I ask is because
yeah,
when I don't, obviously I don't write books, but I write my articles, and like I try not to use extra long hyphens and those kind of things, just because I don't want.
use an M dash all the time.
But I saw a
I
post
know,
on
yeah.
Instagram the other day that they said, look, someone's used Chat GPT, and it was a Charles Dickens book, and there was these long hyphens and stuff,
Yeah.
and it's just like it's so difficult
Yeah.
to
No, it's
navigate right now.
crazy. It's and I'm not speaking to that author you referenced, but just in general, it's crazy because I am very anti the use of AI in human created art. Um and at the same time, I think the internet loves a witch hunt, and we are so
Very
quick
much
to
so.
jump on people for different things, and it is scary too that maybe somebody could be falsely accused of this, or I don't know. Like there's just so much that um it's so charged, but there's a reason it's charged because we're scared and we
Yeah.
don't know what it means. And the people who really are have the most power, I do think don't really care about us and our jobs. And so yeah, it's a freaking wild world. We're gonna see where this goes, but it's crazy. I know so many people in so many industries who are like, graphic designers or whatever, and it's just like, where am I going to be in 5 years, 10
Oh,
years?
exactly.
What
I'm
is,
the same. You know, but like I said, I
yeah,
translate. I live in the
exactly.
north of Spain. I'm translating into English, but
Yep.
the last 6 months or so has it's just been so dry, so little work. So thankfully, I'm getting more and more interviews and more books to review
Good.
and things. So,
Good. And I think
oh,
people are going
that's
to
blessing.
value too. Translation is such an art form in itself, like I tried to do a translation course at in my writing program, and I have like a very minimal proficiency in some other languages, but it was amazing to me how much artistry there actually is, because between languages, like turns of phrase might not exist in one
Yeah,
that exists in the other and might not have the same nuance. And so it is it's such a special thing for humans to be able to do, because they're even
yeah.
putting their own sort of like artistic imprint on it. And that's a cool part of the process. And I wish I could read the translations of my books in other languages because I really feel like that's what's going on. And so
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully people will value the human side of that.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. But yeah, I don't want to end on a negative note.
On the
So,
AI note.
but yeah, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much. Like I said again, thank you so much for a great book. I loved it to bits. So
Thank
good.
you.
Can't wait for people to read it. Well, I know a lot of people have already read it, and you've been getting some great reviews. And
Thank you. Yeah.
I can't wait for other people to speak to it that I know that I can get to chat about spoilers and stuff and see what they think about it as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much for reading it and wanting to talk about it. And it's really it's really gratifying. Thank you.
Hmm. And I wasn't aware that your boyfriend's got a book coming out as well.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah,
love
it's
to
really
have him
great.
on board if he would like to know. Is that's coming out soon as well?
It's coming out a week before mine, and it's cool. So his is a memoir, but it's about this same exact time period in which I was writing Headlights. So it's sort of it was the way both of us dealt with kind of a pretty rough couple years in life,
Right.
and I think they're really cool, like companion pieces to each other. Also, if you do want to know more about sort of our lives, I mean, it's a memoir.
Uh-huh.
Um, but
No, the
yeah,
reason I
it's
ask is if he'd love to come on the show, I would love to talk
yeah.
to him about the book if he'd like
I'm
if
sure
he'd be
he'd love
interested.
to. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I can connect you two through email. But the book
that would
is
be
so
great.
beautiful. It's the kind of book you read in like a day. Like you can't stop, you know.
Yeah.
I'm
Brilliant.
biased, but you know.
No, no, yeah, no. I trust you. I trust you.
We
If it
met
goes,
in a writing program like 10 years ago. That's how
all
we
right,
met.
brilliant.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's like a very cool thing.
Uh-huh. Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you so much again for your time, CJ. I really appreciate it. It's really nice to speak to you.
Thank
And
you. So good speaking to you.
I hope to speak to you again sometime soon. Hopefully in person next time at some festival or something.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever come over stateside?
My plan is to go sometime. Yeah, I haven't been for a while, but yeah, my plan is to take because I've got the kids. I keep saying we've got to go to the US. We've got to go to the US. So yeah, hopefully I'll a
Yeah.
Stoker Con or something like that would be a perfect time to get over there. Yeah.
Stoker would be perfect. It's so fun. It's just
You know,
like you said,
I've
horror
seen how
people are so
I've seen how
great.
you sing karaoke and all those kind of things. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I gotta get a good song for this year. I gotta like prepare. So would
yeah. Well,
love
listen,
to
thanks.
see you in person. I'll connect you and Kyle. And thank
Yeah,
you
please
for
do.
keeping my books out, face out all the time, every day on your
I'm gonna
bookshelf.
have to do. I'm gonna have to glue them there now. Yeah. Thanks so much. Really nice
Nice
to speak
chat.
to you. All right, take care of yourself. Have a good day. All
You
right, bye now.
too.
Cheers.